Okay, so at this time, we would also like to introduce to you Hunter Biden. Our governor, the governor of Delaware, John Carney. Lieutenant Governor of Delaware, Bethany Hall Long. Our senior senator from Delaware, Thomas Carper. Here's another one I have to get right because this is my boss. Secretary of State, Jeff Bullock. The Delaware Attorney General, Kathy Jennings. The Delaware Treasurer, Colleen Davis. The Delaware Auditor, Kathleen McGinnis. Delaware Insurance Commissioner, Trinidad Navarro. The Adjutant General of Delaware, National Guard, Major General Mike Berry. Our former Adjutant General, retired Delaware National Guard, General Frank Vavala. I understand that we also have quite a few members of the General Assembly that have come today to pay tribute to our fallen heroes. And at that time, if all members of our General Assembly, I know I said not to stand, but if you stand carefully, we'd like you to stand so we can recognize you as well. And thank you so much for your support for veterans. I would also at this time, I think Mr. Matt Meyer is here from Newcastle County. Our commissioners from the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs, off to my left here. Our executive director for the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs and the Delaware Office of Veteran Services, Joshua Maddox. And these are some real important people here. The executive director of the Delaware River and Bay Authority, Tom Cook. And Mr. Sam Latham from the DRBA, from the Delaware River and Bay Authority as well. And we also have one of our representatives, Representative Chukocha, is here today. And so Representative Chukocha, you just hold your hand up there. Yeah. We would like to thank all of our local officials and service members, veteran service organizations, family members, and all veterans in attendance. Representative Chukocha also has another title, very important title. He is our Poet Laureate for the state of Delaware. And we would like him to come forward at this time and pay tribute to our veterans.
Mr. President, Governor, everyone, I wrote this poem thinking of my days in Fort Wainwright, Alaska as an infantryman. And you remember running, carrying your guide on, and all of the streamers that were connected to the guide on that represented all of the battles and conflicts that my battalion was a part of had a lot of weight to it. And it was with that weight that I wrote this poem as I thought about Memorial Day today. And it's called Our Obligation. Some say that Memorial Day is just the unofficial start of summer. But here in the heart of our nation, in the first state, the very start of our nation, there is a difference. We know that today is a day of significance, a day of remembrance to the known and unknown, honoring those who came home and those who didn't, showing our respect to those who gave themselves to their mission, those who came home forever scarred and struggled with the transition. It is our obligation to recognize and heal our nation's pain, our wounded warriors, and goes to our families, those families forever changed. We are a nation that is never silent on things that matter, standing strong on our duty, our commitment, our courage, our allegiance, and our valor, honoring those who served, acknowledging the sacrifices that made America great. We are America, and this is our obligation, the obligation to our nation, remembering the men and women who served, fulfilling their duties far beyond words. It's remembering their strength that make our nation strong. Today is the day that we remember. We pray that America will never be a forgotten nation, a nation that forgets those unforgettable days, those sacrifices made, our POW and our MIA, those never brought home, those resting in unmarked graves. We remember. We remember you, for it is our duty, it is our obligation to honor in remembrance the service and the sacrifice to those made for our nation. We must honor and protect those who protected us. This is our obligation. This is our obligation. See, we must teach our children that our freedoms are not free. There is a cost for each of us, and it begins with us paying our respects. This is our nation, and this is our obligation. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Nobby. Thank you so much, Representative Chukocha. For all the veterans out there, and especially all of you that are in the enlisted community, the NCOs, we know that when we serve, we evaluate leadership. And we're very careful at how we select the leaders and how we follow the leaders that are taking us into combat. And we recognize those that are great. We recognize those that maybe need a little work, a little more push from the NCOs. And I will tell you that it's an honor for me at this time to introduce to you a leader who I evaluate as an outstanding leader. And I know he likes to go by the name of Governor, but I kind of think of him for the last 18 months. He's kind of got almost like the name of Admiral for me, because he's been in combat for 18 months. And he's led this state through a horrific time and done a masterful job at it. And Admiral works well because he's done it admirably. So it gives me great pleasure at this time to introduce to you our governor, Governor John Carney.
Thank you, Chuck. Admiral, I'll take that. Particularly over the last year. What a beautiful day. Might be raining out there, Mr. President. With that big smile of yours, it certainly is warm here. I want to first acknowledge Charles, Chuck, for you being the MC and chair, and for your work yesterday. What a great event we had down at the Veterans Cemetery. Thank you to those who were able to join us, due to you and so many folks. So it was a great event. A little cold. Somebody said normally on Memorial Day events we don't have coats and sweaters on. I was just happy to be there without a mask on, to be honest with you. Mr. President, we got to give thanks to you and your team for doing so much incredible work getting folks vaccinated over the first 100 days of your administration. This is a really special day to have you with us, Mr. President. As you know, you have been as reliable as anybody coming to this event. For over 50 years, I think, 36 years or so as our United States Senator. You were here as Vice President. Really special to have you here today as our president. And you know, we start by acknowledging our Veterans Commission for their great work, Chuck for his chairmanship, and recognizing Secretary of State and his team for helping put this together, Tom Cook. Mr. Chairman, Sam, thanks for the work of the DRBA and putting this together once again for all of us. But most of all, we're honored and proud to have you here, Mr. President. As I said, there are few people who have attended this event more reliably than you have. Many of those people are here, and I can see, Judy, that you're in your assigned seats right here in the front row. Resilience, strength, sacrifice, the kind of values that Nnamdi's poem spoke to. We used to have a saying when I was in the Congress, Nnamdi, that I'd like to associate with the comments of the gentleman from North Wilmington, because that was extraordinary. And it talked about our obligation. It talked about those values. Those are the values that we honor here every Memorial Day. First and foremost, we remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. We say their names. We pray for their eternal rest. And we comfort our Gold Star families who live with that loss every day. This past year, the rest of the country got a glimpse of what it really means to live out those values, the values our men and women in uniform live by every day. We could not have made it through this pandemic if it weren't for the sacrifices, large and small, of every Delawarean and every American. In particular, General Berry and his National Guard men and women deserve our deepest thanks. They have been the backbone of our pandemic response here in Delaware. Whatever we asked, they were out there willing to do. More than ever, General Vavla, General Timmons, they have stepped up to the plate and been there for every Delawarean. They've been relentless in the commitment to protecting our citizens. They were deployed overseas and in Washington, D.C. to protect the Capitol. Help me again publicly thank General Berry and his team for their incredible work over the past year. I also want to thank the staff at the Delaware Veterans Home. Over 15 months of this pandemic, with one of the most vulnerable populations to COVID-19, our staff down there has been unbelievable in protecting those veterans. To date, no one has passed for COVID-19 at our Veterans Home. And our incredible VA hospital here in Wilmington has been one of our biggest partners during this pandemic. Director Vince Kane and his team came up big as well. They have been on our calls on a weekly basis. They have vaccinated nearly 70% of the 25,000 veterans who get their health care from the VA. 70%. That puts Delaware in the top 10 in the nation for vaccinations, and we thank you for that incredible work. None of that should be surprising to all of us who gather here today. This ethic of sacrifice and selflessness is what we've come here today to remember and honor. And it's a collective sacrifice, made by the fallen, of course, but also made by our Gold Star families, here reliably year after year. And for them, it's a sacrifice that doesn't end. And neither does our debt of gratitude to those for making it. Of course, the best way to honor the dead is to take care of the living. And that's what our military has done over this past year. I think it's so fitting that one of the first large events without masks, Hunter, unless you're too young to be vaccinated, calls upon us to reflect and remember, to give thanks and to honor And that's what we do today. Thank you, all of you, for coming to meet that obligation that Nnamdi spoke of so eloquently. I've had some great privileges as governor, but no more important than this one. And it's my distinct privilege to introduce the man who helped us lead our country out of the darkness and into the light. Our nation's leader, our commander-in-chief, Delaware's favorite son, and our good friend, the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to be here on this solemn occasion with so many friends. Governor Carney, Senator Carper, Attorney General Kathy Jennings, General Barry, it's good to see you, and thank you for everything you do for the Delaware National Guard. By the way, I saw General Vavilow this morning. He's become not only a general, but a great friend. A great friend. He was at Bo's Memorial Mass this morning. Thank you for being there, General. I appreciate it. And by the way, Hunter has had one shot, not two, and he's just making sure everybody's okay. Me and my family, we've tried to participate in this event every year because it's an important tradition in the Delaware community. Even last year, in those early dark days of the pandemic, Jill and I didn't want to let Memorial Day pass like every other day, and there was no event here, but we came to lay a wreath at the plaza. It was the first time we did any sort of event since the lockdown had begun in March, because we were determined to honor the fallen, to pay tribute to the women and men who braved every danger, who made the ultimate sacrifice for the country. Because as a nation, we must always remember, always remember. We must remember the price that was paid for our liberties, and we must remember the debt we owe those who have paid it, and the families left behind. My heart is torn in half by the grief. The communities are never whole again. Folks, it's also an important tradition in our family. As many of you know, this is a hard day for us. 6 years ago today, Hunter lost his dad and I lost my son. It's the first year of his passing back in 2016. General Vavilow did a great honor in inviting us to a ceremony renaming the Delaware National Guard headquarters in Bo's honors. By the way, I'd note that when Bo made the grade of major in Iraq, I said, I'd been in and out of Iraq over 25 times. I said, Bo, you're now a field grade officer. He said, Dad, I have no illusion who runs the United States Army. It's the master sergeants. They run the Army. Well, I woke up that morning hearing Bo in my ear saying, not me, Dad. Today's not about me. It's Memorial Day. You should be over at the bridge. And you know, if he were here, he would be here as well, paying his respects to all those who gave so much for our country, and particularly honoring the Gold Star families. You know, a lot of time passes, but you all know better than I do, or as well as I do, that the moment that we celebrate it is the toughest day of the year. We're honored, but it's a tough day. It brings back everything. And so I can't thank you enough for your continued service to the country. And your sons, your daughters, they live on in your hearts and in their children as well. And we have to carry on without them. But I know how hard it is for you. Bo didn't die in the line of duty, but he was serving the Delaware National Guard unit in Iraq for a year. That was one of the proudest things he did in his life. So thank you for allowing us to grieve together today. I know how much the loss hurts. I know the black hole that leaves in the middle of your chest. It feels like you may get sucked into it and not come out. Greetings like this in gatherings help. And while I know nothing I can say to ease the pain, I just know that each year it gets a little bit easier. And I promise you the day will come when the mention of the name of your son or daughter, husband, wife, they will in fact bring not a tear to your eye, but a smile to your lips. Folks, I hope that day comes sooner than later. Folks, despite all the pain, I know the pride you feel in the loved one and that you lost, and those who are still serving. The pride and the bravery and the service to our great American experiment. Our military community is the solid spine of this country. It's literally the spine of the nation. And on my first Memorial Day as Commander-in-Chief, I want to reaffirm my long-standing belief. We may have many obligations as a nation, but we only have one truly sacred obligation, and that's to equip those we send into harm's way with all they need and care for them and their families when they return home and when they don't. And all of us who remain have a duty to renew our commitment to the fundamental values to our nation in their honor. The values that have inspired generation after generation to service, and that so many have died to defend. Every day since I was vice president, I've carried with me a card with the exact number of troops killed in our operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. Not an approximation or a rounded number, an accounting of every life laid down for our country over the 20 years of war. Today, it's 7,036 military members, fallen angels, have given the last full measure of devotion, as Lincoln termed it, in those modern conflicts. And we'll never forget. They were the guardians, and we're the guardians. They're the guardians of us, and we're the guardians of their legacy, the inheritors of their mission, and the living testament to their sacrifice that is not going to be in vain. Because every American democracy endures. We have been tested, and we surely test it further. But I know that we as a people are up to the task. Each generation of Americans receives a precious gift of liberty, and we work to share it with more people, to make our country more open, more free, more fair, to bring us closer to making our American creed a reality for all Americans, that all women and men are created equal, that all women and men equally deserve to be treated with dignity, that all men and women deserve equal rights, equal protection to build their futures for their families and hope and opportunity. The American creed is the connective tissue that binds us. It's a long chain of patriots that come before us and those who will follow us in turn. That creed holds that the ideals that inspire people to service and that fill us with pride when we see our loved ones put on that uniform, and our progress toward that creed together as one nation, united and preserved through their sacrifices, is the best and strongest memorial to their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, America is unique. It's an idea. Unlike any other country in the world, it is formed based on an idea. Almost every other country is based on a creed, a religion, a geography, an ethnicity. But not us. We're based on an idea that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. We're unique in the world. I had a long conversation for 2 hours recently with President Xi, making it clear to him that we could do nothing but speak out for human rights around the world, because that's who we are. I'll be meeting with President Putin in a couple weeks in Geneva, making it clear that we will not stand by and let him abuse those rights. Folks, we're unique in all of history. We really are. But those names etched on that wall and every other wall and tombstone in America of veterans is the reason why we're able to stand here. We can't kid ourselves about that. And so I hope that the nation comes together. We're not Democrats or Republicans today. We're Americans. We're Americans who've given their lives. And it's time we remind everybody who we are. Thank you all for being here. May God bless you all, particularly the Gold Star families and survivors. And may God protect our troops because they're still out there. Thank you.